Alrighty, we're going to cover day 139 and day 140 in this video of the CDT. Creepy tent video. I'll explain that in a sec. Okay. A few times in these videos I've mentioned that I'm fatigued with Montana. I would say 2/3 to 3/4 of the trail from the Idaho-Montana border all the way up here, which I'm 4 days north of Helena. It's like they decided to carpet the trail with rocks, and it's like give or take fist-sized rocks. It's not like gravel size or anything like that. They also have a lot of pointless up and downs in the state. Since we've left Ledor, essentially, and been hiking, we've been hiking in mostly trees. Every once in a while, we'll get above something, or we'll get into a burn area so we can see stuff around us, but it's been mostly trees. I'm sure there's a few other things I complained about. So, to my surprise, yesterday, day 139, I hiked the first, I think, 7 miles. I hiked down from where I camped to Fletcher Pass. And I noticed something. So at the end of day 138, when I was going up the ascent, and then the morning of day 139 yesterday, I noticed that the trail for the ascent was dirt. It wasn't rocks. Like, it had some rocks on it, but it was like pebble, like pea-sized rocks, right? Which are naturally occurring. And so it was a combination of dirt and sometimes those smaller rocks, which those smaller rocks are fine. They get pushed down when you have hundreds of people walking by. And I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't know if that was going to continue. Let me adjust that so you can actually see my face. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Oh, now it's even spookier. So I got down to Fletcher Pass, and I immediately had to go back up, which Montana loves those up and downs. However, I noticed something once I got to the top of that ascent, and that ascent was like, I don't know, 1,300 feet, I think. We stayed up there. Like, once we did the ascent, we hiked we meaning CDT hikers, we stayed on the ridge for like 6 to 8 miles. It was great. Absolutely loved it. Like, that's what I thought Montana was. Like, once you got finished with the Idaho-Montana border and you made the turn north and east to head to Glacier, my understanding was we were supposed to get into this place where you have an ascent from a pass, you get up there, and you get to hike a ridge for 6 to 8 miles, and then you drop down to the next pass, and then you got to hike back up, you know, whether it's 1,000 feet or 1,500, whatever it is. But once you get up there, you get to like stay up on a ridge, and you get to see a bunch of stuff. Man, it's taken until about 300 miles away from the border, actually less than that. Where are we mileage? So right now we're at 2719 in the app. So that means we were in 2600 yesterday. So less than 300 miles from the border, we're finally getting to the point where we hike up from a pass and we get to hike on a ridge, and it's great. I thought that's what Montana was, because like big sky country, right? You get to see everything. It rained, for the love of Pete. Off and on during the day, it was sprinkling, the clouds were swirling, and then, I don't know, 5 o'clock-ish, it just opened up. Like, the wind and the rain just opened up. And there was a yurt, thankfully, on the trail, because I was up on an exposed ridge, and I jumped in the yurt. There were 2 other hikers there. I stayed there for about a half an hour to let what I thought was the major the major rain and wind pass. And then I got back out and continued hiking. And then I got hit with wind and rain. Like I was on pace to do a 29-mile day, which is what I needed. And I ended up doing 27.5 because I lost a half an hour hanging out in the yurt. Man, I would have loved yesterday. I would have absolutely loved yesterday if it had been beautiful weather. Like day 138, the video, I was like, I'm mentally fatigued with Montana. Like I'm done with Montana. And then we have this, what I've been waiting for, where we get to hike from pass to pass, and we get to hike on these ridges, and it rains. It rains. The trail was most of the trail was dirt. Most of the trail was dirt or pea-sized rocks. It was a beautiful trail. Like once we got up Fletcher Pass, we hiked like 6 to 8 miles, and then we dropped down to Rogers Pass. And then I think the ascent out of Rogers Pass was like 1,000 feet or something like that. I don't know. And then we were on a ridge again, and it was great. We were hiking across the ridge, and then the weather hit. It kind of spit on me between Fletcher and Rogers Pass, but then it opened up on Rogers Pass, like once I got past there. So frustrating. I didn't get the mileage I needed, which is frustrating. There was a slight break in the weather, so I threw up my tent. But I was like, I had just finished hiking up to 7,400 feet, and there was no flat area. I like cozied in next to a shrub where like the ground was just covered with shale type rock. So I just tried to make it as flat as possible, and that's where I slept. I don't mind sleeping high. I prefer it because, like, for example, the last 2 nights I did an ascent and then I slept up there because getting out of the trees is better for, in my opinion, for not having bear encounters. We'll get to day 140 today in just a second. So day 139 was frustrating. It promised to be what I thought Montana was, and then rain, because you know the CDT loves to rain on me. In my head, the last couple of days, I've been thinking a lot about the PCT because I'm getting close to the mileage of the PCT, and also when I hit Washington, it rained 13.5 of the first 15 days I was in the state. So like the fact that it rained yesterday, and the clouds swirled around today, like that's been in the back of my head. So if I accidentally say PCT, I'll try to catch myself and correct it. But if I accidentally say PCT instead of CDT, then I apologize. All right. Day 140. Okay, so this morning, like it rained until about, I don't know, midnight last night, maybe 1. I think it was midnight. And then I got up this morning, and the sky wasn't clear. It was a combination of forest fire smoke and clouds. So I was concerned that we are going to get more weather today. It was also cold. The wind hadn't gone anywhere, so it was still windy. It wasn't cold enough to put a frost down, and there was a little bit of condensation at the top of my tent, but that was it. So it wasn't cold enough to freeze things, but it was definitely cold enough where if you had exposed skin, you felt it was cold. So I hiked out because of this has been a repeating thing over the last few days, actually last few weeks, because of the smoke. We're not getting the sunset and the sunrise, so it's stealing light from us. So September, we're losing light anyway, and now because of the smoke in the horizons, the sunset and the sunrises are coming later because the smoke is blocking the sun in the morning and the evening. When you add clouds to that, it's even worse of a block. So instead of getting dark around like 8:20 to 8:30 right now, like tonight it got dark at 8. Part of that is because I'm in a forest, and part of that is because of the smoke slash clouds. So it's stealing some sunlight, which we really need. It's vital that we have that sunlight. So that's unfortunate. So I got up this morning. It was because I was so high at 7,400 now, the trees. I was able to get started at 7, like hiking at 7, and I could see all right. Over the first couple of hours, the sun, you could see the sun was out, and it was burning off the clouds. And I thought we were going to have a clear day today, which was important because from camp, I hiked down from 7,400 down to 6,400, so I lost 1,000 feet. And then over the course of the next 12 miles, that was 2 miles to get down to that drop. And then over the course of the next 12 miles, from 6,400, we went up to 8,300, so 1,900 feet. But it wasn't it wasn't just an ascent, it was a step descent. So we'd go up 700 feet, we'd lose 100 feet. We'd go up 300 feet, we'd lose 200 feet. We'd go up, something like, what were the next ones? I think the next ones are like 500, and then we'd lose all 500, and then I'd go up 500. My math's off on this, but you get the point. And then from the 500, we dropped all the way down to 7,500, and then we hiked up to 83. So we had like an 800-foot ascent at the very end. And that was all over 12 miles. So by the time I got to those 12 miles, like my legs were tired from the ascending. Also, the rocks came back. So the trail started off with as dirt, but very quickly it turned to rock. So like the descent from 74 down to 64 was steep and mostly rocks and loose dirt. And most of the ascents and descents today were loose rock and dirt, which is, the descents are actually rougher than the ascents. But at the end of the 14 miles, or the 12 miles to the 8,300 point, so 14 total, like my legs were like, okay, what are we doing here? Thankfully we had a huge descent, and I looked at the app wrong. I thought the huge descent was leading to a spill out. And what I mean by that is, elsewhere on the trail, when we're traversing or traveling from, let's say, one mountain range to the other, or we're traveling maybe out of a mountain range over to something else, most times, not Colorado, of course, but most times in Wyoming and earlier in Montana, we would descend to a trailhead, get put on an unpaved road, whether it's a Forest Service road, a ranch road, whatever it is, and we'd walk the road for 5 to 10 miles, and then we'd jump into another trail, and wherever we ended up. They're not doing it this time. The CDT dumped us from 8,300 down to, I think, 5,200. I could be a little bit off on that, but it's somewhere around there. So we had a huge descent, like 3,000 foot descent. And now we're walking close to the forest floor, and I am freaked out. Like I'm looking, the trail is just a little bit above the forest floor. So I'm looking over to the left, and I'm like, man, that is a playpen for bears. There's meadows, there's water sources, there's big wide open areas where they're not stumbling over a tree fall or anything else. I'm like, man, this just looks like a playpen for bears. And I'm hiking barely 50 feet above it, and I'm on a traverse. So the really unfortunate thing is that, like, we came down, and now what we're doing is we're just doing a gradual up. So from like 5,200, we're going back up to 6,000, and then tomorrow we have like 6,000 up to like 6,700, and then we're going back down to five something, I think 5,500. And then we're going up to 6,500, and then after that we have this huge descent again. But I don't think they're spilling us out onto a road. I think they're keeping us on trail, and that means that the last few days we've been getting up above the trees. Have we hiked through trees and forest? Yes, when we get low, like around the passes and stuff. But then they've taken us up on ridges and we've gotten out, and that's been great. The second half of today, like from 2 o'clock on, maybe 2:30 when I got into the forest, and tomorrow, I'm going to be hiking in nothing but the forest, like at around between basically 5,500 and 6,500. Not a big fan. Not a big fan. I'm using my bear bell. I'm yelling. Like I stopped and cooked dinner at 6 o'clock tonight, and then hiked like from 6 to 6:45. I cooked dinner, ate it, got back on trail and hiked for about another hour. So I'm not cooking at camp. Like I'm singing the teapot song, like the nursery rhyme, I'm Little Teapot. I'm singing like some of the worst songs I've ever heard. Just because they're coming into my head and they have easy words and I can sing them. We have forest all around us. I can't see anything. So I'm just continuously making noise as best I can. My bear spray is ready if I need it. I would have much rather that on this descent they spilled us out onto a trailhead and we were on unpaved road, because unpaved road is going to have a corridor on each side, which means there's a buffer between the forest. And a lot of times those roads, especially if they're rancher roads, they have a lot of open space around them, like pastures and stuff. And it gives you that buffer from the forest. This doesn't. Like the trail's rocky, the trail's overgrown. It's right above the forest floor. It's basically if I would have written down what I didn't want to have to happen or hike through in grizzly country on my own, I would have written this down, and now I'm in it. So I found like a little nook on the side of the trail that was it's not flat, but it's as flat as I could get it, because there was no way I was going to camp on the forest floor. So I'm on an angle again. That's why I keep like adjusting, because I'm basically sitting at an angle right now. So today would have been a great day as well, because like even though we had that huge climb over 12 miles, we were still up above. We were on ridges and we were hiking across ridges, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to hike across ridges. I wanted to be high. The weather, like the clouds swirled around. I got spit on a little bit, like sprinkled on a little bit. But for the most part, the rain stayed. I think it was, there were two directions. It was south and west, I think. Got some rain, or maybe south and east. It was south and east. It got, like, I looked over and it was raining over there, or some kind of precipitation. Thankfully, it stayed away from where I was, like the direction I was hiking. So there was definitely weather in the area, but I didn't get hit with it except for just a little bit of a sprinkles. I'm not even going to count it in, how many days I've been rained on. So that was day 139, 140. Day 141 tomorrow, because I didn't get my 29 miles yesterday, and because my legs were tired by the end of today, so I'm about a mile short of where I wanted to be today. So what that means is tomorrow I'm going to try to get to Benchmark Ranch. The problem is in my planning, like the notes that are on the maps and the website, it says that the Benchmark Ranch is 1.5 miles away from the trail, which is like a 30-minute walk. So that means round trip, it's 1 hour, not a big deal. there have been notes in our navigation app from hikers that have basically said that's wrong. It's nearly 3.5 miles one way. So suddenly I went from having a 3-mile round trip to a 7-mile round trip. 7 miles on a road walk. I mean, it's not 7 miles, it's like 6.6, but on a road walk, I can probably do that in 2 hours. On a road walk, round trip 3 miles, I can probably do in an hour. I mean, the 2 hours for the seven-ish miles, I think I can, it'll be over that. But basically, instead of losing an hour to walk to the Benchmark Ranch, I'm losing 2 hours. And it's adding almost 7 miles to my day. So I'm going to do my damnedest to try to get to Benchmark tomorrow. I have 24.5 miles to get to the trailhead, and then I'd have to hike 6.6. So that total would be it'd be a 31-mile day. That would be getting to the trailhead, getting to Benchmark, coming back to the trailhead. That does not include sifting through my resupply and getting the stuff in my pack. So I called Benchmark Ranch 2 days ago just to verify they had my box and everything was set. And they told me that they were taking a trip, so they weren't going to be there. Like, my box is in a bear-proof cabinet, so I just go get it from the cabinet. But they're not going to be there, which means I don't think I'm going to be able to, like, pay $20 and set up my tent there. So I think I'm going to have to go back to the trailhead, the trailhead tomorrow. So 31 miles. CDT, you gotta love the unexpected. Sorry, when I keep shifting and stuff because I'm on a slope, I think the light changes. So sorry you can't see my face very well. All right, so that is about 11 minutes per day. It's running on 20 minutes for this video, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this lovely thing. Trials and tribulations in Montana. I'm trying to do my best to get to East Glacier without encountering a bear, and no injuries, no weather, just get there safe and sound. So thanks for watching the videos. I know the last couple have been a little bit more of a downer, but you know, like I said in the very first video of this stuff, like, however I'm feeling at the time of the video, like, that's what you're going to get. So yeah, after tomorrow, I think I have 5 days to hike from Benchmark to East Glacier, I think is what it is. So but from Helena to East Glacier was 10 days. Tomorrow's day 5. So after tomorrow, I'll be halfway there. So I just got to get through the Bob Wilderness. It's the Bob Marshall Wilderness. People call it the Bob. So I just got to get through the Bob, and there's definitely grizzly activity in the Bob. Every single local that I've run into that asks me if I'm hiking solo and I say yes, they're like, well, watch out for the Bob. So 5 days of the Bob, and then I'm in East Glacier. So yippee skippy. Anywhoosie, thanks for watching the videos. I hope you're all doing well, and I'll talk to you folks tomorrow. Bye.